All right, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Again, thank you for your patience. We had a bit of a technical difficulty, but you all have joined the Ready for the Fall Semester virtual webinar with UCCS. So we're really excited to have you all on today. We've got a couple of staff members and students here who are going to be going over your questions. We're going to give you lots of information. So we will go ahead and get started. My name is Annalise. I am an admissions counselor here at UCCS. I was a transfer student myself many years ago and have been working at the university down in Texas. I have with me another admissions counselor, Michaela, and then two students with us today too. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to them to let them introduce themselves, and I'll start with Michaela.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michaela. Like Annalise said, I am also an admissions counselor here at UCCS, but I'm also an alumni. So I graduated from UCCS with a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I moved out to Colorado Springs to attend UCCS right after high school from Minnesota. So if anyone on the call is from Minnesota, go Midwest. But I'm happy to be here today, and we're looking forward to sharing this information with you. This is all a really exciting time. So I'm going to hand it over to Kayleen to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kayleen, and I'm an upcoming sophomore at UCCS. My hometown is Rocky Ford, Colorado, home of the Melineers, if you're familiar. If you're not familiar, that's okay. We just grow watermelons. That's all we're special for. But I am currently majoring in chemistry with a pre-med intent, and I lived on campus for my first year.
Sweet, and I think that leaves me. So hi, everyone. My name is Danica. I'm from Pueblo. I'm going into my last semester, so I'll be graduating in December. I'm very excited, and I'm a communication student, specifically on the professional leadership track.
Awesome. Thank you all. So today we're going to be talking about kind of your first weeks of school. So I do have the agenda up here as a timeline. We'll be talking today about housing, kind of how to get started with your first week and move in. We're going to be talking about student life and everything that student life has to offer. And we're going to be talking about the Gateway Program Seminar that you all will be doing. So we'll put this agenda back up, this timeline, so that you guys can snap a picture. We'll go over it again, but just so you all know, this is what we'll be talking about today. Feel free to ask your questions in the Q&A. We are going to have a time for Q&A at the very end. So some of your questions we'll be answering live because we think that they're going to be appropriate for everybody to hear. Outside of that, though, we do have a couple of our admissions staff here in the background. And we also have some housing staff as well who are going to be answering any questions. So again, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. People will be typing and answering back to you, or we will be answering your question live. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're going to first talk about your Gateway Program Seminar class.
All right, so some of you might have already registered for your classes for this fall. Some of you might still need to do that, but either way, all incoming first-year students are required to take a GPS class. So that class is going to be a little bit different than the rest of yours. So it's going to be a class that's going to help you get oriented to campus. It's going to help you get connected to some of the staff and faculty that's on campus, as well as other first-year students. So how the GPS class starts out is actually the Thursday and Friday before the official semester starts. You're going to have 2 full days of class most of the time on campus. So Thursday and Friday, the week before classes start, but after you've all moved in, you're going to have full days of classes. And depending on the subject of your GPS class, they're going to look a little bit different, but most of them, the main goal is to help you meet other students, get ready for the school year, get ready to start college, learn some good studying habits, and really get to know, UCCS and what that means for you all. So those startup days are going to be on August 18th and 19th, and then the official start day of the semester is the 22nd. And on those startup days, like I said, it's going to be a full day class, and it really will depend on what class you're taking. I like to share when I was a first-year student at UCCS, I took a class called Keeping Colorado Springs Weird. It was kind of a playoff on the Keep Austin Weird, if anyone is coming from Texas. And the first day of that startup days, we were fully on campus. We did a scavenger hunt. We got to meet people from other classes. And the second day, they actually brought us to downtown Colorado Springs, and we got to learn all about like just the culture of Colorado Springs, the history of Colorado Springs. And then moving forward, the main topic of the class was learning about Colorado Springs. So coming from out of state, that was a super awesome class to be in. And on top of that, it's where I met a lot of really good friends right off the bat. So my best friend coming out of college at the end of the day, she was actually in that class with me. And ironically, she was from Austin. So that's a really random tidbit. But I wanted to hand it over to our students just to kind of give you guys all a more recent student perspective of what their startup days looked like. But before I do that, I wanted to touch a little bit on the timeline of the GPS class itself. This class actually will end before right around Thanksgiving break. So during finals week, when the rest of your classes, you'll have papers and exams and everything, this class will be done already. So they do that on purpose. Those hours that you spend in the startup days, take away those hours that you would spend at the end of the semester. So you won't have to, this is one last class you'll have to worry about during finals week. And that's a really nice piece of it. So it helps your first finals week be a little bit lighter of a load. But I'll start out with Danica. Did you want to talk about your GPS class a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So when I did my GPS class, I was looking for something that was that was going to help me for the rest of the time. So I took a how to study class. It was called Make It Stick. So the first day we did like a lot of the scavenger hunt. In fact, we were like told that we had a page essay about ourselves that we had to write, and we had to like go and figure out how to like log into the computers at the library and like print it out and learn how to print. So it ended up being really helpful. And then the second day we went over like all of these study tips, and we watched this movie about the psychology of like our memory. It was crazy, but I'm still friends with a few of the kids that I met in that class, and I still have classes with them. So like, even if you don't get something out of the content of the class, like if you do like something that you end up not being super fond of, the people that you make and like those connections that you make in that class last for an entire time that you're at UCCS.
Awesome. Thank you, Danica. Kaylin, did you want to share a little bit about your experience, what you liked, maybe didn't like about it?
Yeah, of course. So I did the Live Leadership GPS class, and that was a part of my scholarship that I had. So if you have the Live Leadership Scholarship, it's required that you do the GPS class with the rest of the other scholars. And my GPS class was honestly super easy. It was so much fun though. For the first couple of days for the GPS days, we, of course, did the scavenger hunt. We won. I'm excited, but I'm still going to rep that for the next 4 years. And we went over a couple of different things. We watched the chancellor speak together. And throughout those whole 2 days where you're in class all day, trust me, it's not as bad as it sounds. Like, I know that sounds really grueling, but it's really not that bad. Most of the time you spend getting to know each other in the class. And that's what we did. We just went around in a circle learning everybody's names. So if you don't know anybody on campus, right away, you know at least 10 people right there. And throughout the year, we ended up doing like an escape room, and it was a whole lot of fun. And I feel like that was the class that I learned the most from. I mean, besides like the boring stuff, but that was where I learned a lot of my life skills that helped me throughout my rest of my freshman year.
Awesome. Thanks, Kayleen. So now we're going to move a little bit more. I know a lot of you probably have questions about move-in and housing. So we're going to actually save that for the end. So even though that kind of comes first in the timeline, we're going to skip over that for now. And we're going to move into talking about student life a little bit. So there's 3 big topics that we wanted to cover regarding student life today. The first one is Clyde's kickoff. The second one is disorientation week. And the third one is the club fair. So Clyde's kickoff is actually that first week when everyone's moving into their residence halls. There's events every single day for you all to start meeting students. And Clyde's kickoff is more of the events where it's going to be all first year students. There isn't going to be everyone back to campus yet because classes haven't fully started. So some examples for Clyde's kickoff. Right away, the first day, they're going to have like an ice cream social. They're going to have up on Alpine Field, which is the background of me right now. It's our recreation field soccer field, whatever you want to call it. They're going to have a bunch of different games and food available to you all for free. Keep that in mind. The next day, there's an ice cream social right on the lawn between all of the residence halls. So that's a really fun one to go to. They're going to have Rec Fest. That's in our rec center. So lots of good just information, prizes, games for you all. Another fun one that's really popular is the Dating Doctor. I don't even know what to say about that, but they have someone come in. It's a lot of fun. It's one of the really highly attended events. And then on Friday, they have premiere night, which is basically like a carnival in our university center. And there's tons of fun prizes, like even as big as AirPods, flat screen TVs, that kind of fun stuff. So that's that first week when you're moving in, and that's basically all first year students. And then the next week, that leads into disorientation week. So that's the first week of classes when everyone is back on campus. So that's going to include Monday, there's Concert on the Lawn. That was my favorite event that I've ever attended. I went to it a couple of years. It was so fun. You just hang out on one of the lawns on campus. They have live music and people really just get to like mingle and meet people. They have different things like game nights. They have a multicultural showcase called Fest. Different clubs and organizations put that on. They have Meet the Greeks. That's Thursday of the first week of classes if you're interested in Greek life. They have a comedian come to campus. Friday of disorientation week is glow dance. So there's lots of fun activities. If you go to Mountain Lion Connect, once you are in, like have claimed your student account and everything, you can see all these different events. So you can see all the different ones that are open to you. And I also wanted to point out on the Saturday between move-in week and the first week of classes, they're actually hosting several different excursions for you all. So they have an excursion to go bowling here in Colorado Springs. They have an excursion down to Manitou Springs. And then they also have an excursion to Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. So different ways that you can kind of get into the city a little bit more and meet more people that way that might be outside of your GPS class. That first weekend you're here before classes start. So that's kind of a high level overview of all the different events that they're offering. And I wanted to touch a little bit. They also have a club fair that takes place. And it looks like they're actually having a kind of like a mini club fair field day on August 16th from 1 to 4. That'll be on the same alpine field that I was talking about earlier. And that will be one way to try to recruit people to the clubs. And they actually have an official club fair on August 30th. So once we're a little bit more into the school year, and that's where all the clubs and organizations, the club sports on campus, they go, they table, they try to recruit new people. And you can just walk around and see all the different awesome, cool clubs that we offer. So that's a little bit of a synopsis, but my next question for our students was, what clubs and organizations are you guys involved in? And did you find them through that club fair, or how did you go about finding those clubs to find your place on campus? Danica, if you want to go first.
Yeah, for sure. So the two clubs that I've been in UCCS were the podcast club and then the Latinx student union. So the podcast club, I actually just kind of stumbled on it on Mountain Lion Connect. And from there, I ran it for a few months or for a few semesters, and we got a few podcast episodes out. So you can find us on Spotify actually, and on Apple Podcasts. So you can go listen to our podcast. And then now I'm really just part of the Latinx student union. One of our fellow Clyde's guides, so a tour guide here on campus that I work with, he was part of the Latinx student union. He kind of introduced me to it and took me to these events. So it's a lot of fun. And of course, just walking around club fair is a big hoot. You can sign up with your UCCS email and you get all these different emails from these different clubs to go to all of these events. So it's not like you have to constantly be going to their meetings and stuff. Sometimes I just pop up in the art club and just go paint for a little bit. But the two that I'm really part of is the Latinx Student Union and the Podcast Club.
Awesome, thanks, Danica. Kayleen, how about you?
Yeah, so I am part of a few different clubs. The one that I saw through the club fair actually was the picnic club. And yes, it's literally exactly what it sounds like. We just go have picnics together. And that one I did find through the club fair. I just was walking around and I saw something with some snacks and then it brought me to it. And next thing, the rest is history. And I'm also part of the biochemistry and chemistry club, and that was introduced to me through my professor, my chemistry professor, of course, and he invited me to one of the meetings. You do not have to be a biochemistry or chemistry major to be a part of that. That's really just what we do is we come together to have some support through getting through the harder classes, and it's really helpful. And I'm also part of the Canes Scholar Club. That's also part of one of my scholarships that was introduced to me through one of my scholarships. And then one of the coolest ones is the Self-Defense Club. And that one I did find through the club fair as well. This guy was holding zip ties on his wrist, and he was like, "Do you want me to show you how to get out of this?" And well, I was like, "Yeah, of course." And I ended up joining the club, went to a few meetings. So yeah, it made my mom feel a little better too. But that one is one of the fun ones. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. Okay, one more question for both of you guys. Well, first of all, that's an awesome club to join. Everyone should join that. But the other question is circling back a little bit to the events of Clyde's Kickoff or Disorientation Week. I just wanted to know if you guys had attended any of those events. What was your favorite one that you attended? We can go in the same order, Danica, if you want to go first.
Yeah, so how similarly they're having a comedy show this year. Last year they had a hypnotist, and that was the craziest event I had ever been to. They hypnotized some guy, and then they were like, "Okay, you're Beyonce," and he just knew the entire dance to Single Ladies. That was the most amazing event I'd ever gone to. So I'm sure the comedy guy will be super cool too, but I'll never forget that.
That's awesome. That I wish I was there. Kayleen, how about you?
So mine's more about Clyde's Kickoff, just because I was one of the lonely freshmen that showed up on campus that first week, and I moved in early actually, so I was there when campus was completely empty. So the coolest one was probably, it's hard to decide between Chalk the Walk, because we all just got to sit outside and color like we're 12 years old again. And we did that during GPS days, actually. Our GPS class went out there and let us chalk the walk. And that's all that you do is you get a box of chalk and you go out to our spine, and then you pick a square, and that square is yours to graffiti. I drew a bunny. And another really cool one though for me, who did not have very many friends on campus besides my roommates, I went to Night on Alpine Field, that first event, and we met quite a few people. That's where I met the majority of my Snapchat friends was there. We just kind of went around asking everybody for everybody's Snapchat, and I still keep up on how they're doing. And it was a really cool event to go out and meet people.
Awesome. I love that. That sounds amazing. Best way to find people, right? Add them on Snapchat.
All right, guys. So I know that a lot of you have questions about housing too. So just to let you all know, you will have a day and time assignment. You can actually sign up for those through your housing portal right now. So you can go to your housing portal, sign up for a day and time to move in. The days available are going to be Sunday, August 14th through Wednesday, August 17th. And then we do have a list of what to bring and what not to bring. This is actually available on the housing website. So I believe if you go to, even if you just go to Google and do like UCCS housing checklist, or if you go to the housing website, which is like uccs.edu/housing, you can look for the checklist there. We did post the do not bring. We'll get to that in a second. But Kayleen, we know that you were the one to move on campus your first year. Could you tell us things that you either wish you would have brought that you didn't, or things that you found that you brought that you absolutely loved and thought it was so helpful, or just kind of, in general, your experience with moving?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And I have a lot of people asking me that from my hometown right now. So I had my answers ready. But for sure, something that I was so happy I brought was, one, a winter coat. Don't underestimate Colorado weather. Two, good walking shoes. Campus is a lot of walking, so just be ready for that. And something that I wished I would have brought was a rolling laundry basket. Most of the laundry rooms won't be in your building unless you're one of the lucky few that live in La Plata or Keystone. So if you don't end up in one of those, definitely invest in a rolling laundry basket. It makes things so much easier. Or if you don't want to roll everything around, you can get a backpack one. That's one that I ended up getting. Was I would stuff all of my laundry in a backpack and then I'd host it on my back, and then I'd walk down the stairs and do my laundry. So that made it a little easier than carrying around a big old basket. And another thing, if you know that you're moving into Alpine, an HDMI cable will probably come in handy if you want to do floor movie nights. Those are a lot of fun, but you do need an HDMI cable to connect to those TVs. Just a little note. Something you should not bring, shoes. Don't bring that many pairs of shoes. I promise you will not wear all of them. Just bring the important ones. And if you do think that you need something else, maybe like one pair of dress shoes, but I promise you won't wear all of those shoes. Also, same thing with clothes. You don't need to bring your whole closet. If you do, good for you. Make sure you have storage containers because the closets are not that big. And then an Ethernet cable. I know everybody tells you to bring that, but here's a little secret. If you go to the IT department, they'll give you one for free. So don't waste your money on an Ethernet cable. They'll give you one for free. And I know people might have mentioned this a few times, but if you you're going to be there all year long. You're probably going to study all the time in there. Make sure you bring stuff to your dorm room that makes it feel like home, like pictures, things that make you feel happy, whether that be things to color with or just things that help you simmer down at the end of the day. And that's something some people overlook, and they have bare walls, but command strips are really easy to take off. Stick up some pictures of your friends and family and make that place your home.
Awesome. Definitely good tips. I will also say, for those of you coming out of state, if you really want to fit in Colorado, bring a pair of Chacos, and you'll pretty much just wear those every single day, all the time. Those are like one of 2 pairs of shoes that you need. So cool. Well, I am just going to throw this slide up really quickly. Again, this is actually directly taken from the housing checklist. So just some things that are not to bring, because these are not allowed in the dorms. If you all have questions, feel free to talk to housing. There's definitely a lot of yeses and nos and different things that they can kind of help you with. But we did just kind of want to throw this up to make you guys aware. Again, I've said it before, go ahead and go to the housing website so you can see that checklist. Additionally, we've had a couple of people asking, yes, this will be recorded. We did get started a little bit late because of technical difficulties. So keep an eye out, because it will be on our YouTube page here in the next couple of days. But again, continue to put your questions in the Q&A, and we'll get to those, as they come in. So we've kind of talked about, everything that we wanted to. We went over your GPS class, all the things that Student Life is going to be offering. We talked a bit about housing. I just want to put this up one last time so you guys can kind of go through and see exactly what you are going to expect for move-in. So again, move-in days is going to be Sunday to Wednesday. And then your GPS days, where you're with your GPS class all day, is going to be on Thursday and Friday. Clyde's kickoff is that whole week though. So as we put up earlier, we just kind of put up some examples of the things that they have, but there are going to be so many different activities that first week during move-in. And then first day of classes, so that all of you are aware, is going to be Monday, August 22nd. So that's when you go to all of your classes that you've registered for so far. And then that whole first week of actual classes, when everybody else is on campus and moved in and all the commuters are coming in, that's going to be the disorientation week. So again, lots of different activities that Student Life puts on. Additionally, August 30th is going to be the big club fair. So kind of keep an eye out on that. I believe it's on the West Lawn, weather permitting, but you guys will get, a lot of information about that. Highly encourage you to go to the club fair. And then just so that you're aware, we wanted to put this up too. The add drop date for your classes is going to be September 8th. So this is the last time that you can drop a class without having to pay for it. A lot of people do end up switching their schedules just because, they get to campus and then they realize they don't want to take this class, or they want to take a different class, or they signed up for a morning class and they realize they're not a morning person. So you actually can change your schedule after you get to campus. But just note, it does pretty much need to be done by September 8th. A couple other dates for you guys, just to keep in mind. A lot of you, I'm assuming, have already claimed your portal at this point, mostly because you have to do that in order to register for classes and housing and everything else. For any of you who are curious about financial aid, if you haven't submitted a FAFSA, you still can do that. Additionally, you're going to want to register for orientation if you haven't gone through that. If you are applying for FAFSA right now, financial aid does do ongoing financial aid packages. So if you just filled out FAFSA within the last day or two, just know that that will be coming to you. And then kind of last but not least, we do have an opportunity on July 24th for an orientation open house. So orientations have been just about an hour and a half session. You can either book them online or in person. Again, many of you, I'm sure, have already done that, but there is kind of a supplemental open house that you can join. So we do have a lot of our resource centers who have tables. You can go, buy things from the bookstore. You can do tours that day. So there's a lot going on campus that day. Feel free to register if you go to the orientation website. Oh. So we just also wanted to throw this slide up really quickly. Feel free to, snap a picture of this. But if you all have any questions and want to talk to any departments, please feel free to reach out to them. Our admissions email and phone number is there too, and we can definitely help you. But at this point, you guys have kind of reached a point where you are probably going to be talking to a lot of other departments. So we're happy to get you all there, but just so you're aware, these are all the contact informations for departments that are pretty important that a lot of people are curious about. So again, if you guys want to snap a picture of this, write anything down, please feel free. And then that's kind of the end of our presentation. So right now we really just want to open it up for questions and answers. Again, if you put them in the Q&A, we do have some people answering the Q&A in the background. We'd also love to answer questions live. So if you do have a question that we think would be great for everybody to hear the answer, we'll be doing that. Kind of first and foremost, Danica, there's a question about commuting. So how did you feel as a commuter? What was your experience? Because you didn't go through the whole move-in thing, what was that kind of like, just trying to get to know people that first week or two?
Yeah, so kind of how similarly Kayleen talked about earlier, those GPS days, those first 2 days that you're on campus all day, were a lifesaver to make sure that I made familiar friends and faces on campus. And then immediately trying to find events to go to. I think I went to almost every single event that I could because I was on campus already. So I just stayed longer rather than driving home. I only lived an hour away, so it didn't matter too bad. And I had friends that lived up here. So if I wanted to spend the night or whatever, that was fine. But I always tried to make sure that I could go to events. So if I had a class that went until 3 and I saw an event started at 5, even though sure I can drive home and my day be over, it is way more worth it to get that experience and make those friends. So really it's cheesy, but join those clubs, go to those events. It's a reason that somebody says those things every time you ask them, what's your biggest advice? 100%, go to those events, join the clubs, do everything you can to make those friends, especially that first week.
Awesome, thanks, Danica. So we have another question too, and actually I'm going to ask one of our housing staff, either Laura or Angela, to answer this. But someone had a question about move-in day and move-in appointments. Is there a time frame? How long are they supposed to be there? How does it all work? So if Angela or Laura wants to answer that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Move-in appointments are set up to be 45 minutes, but that 45 minutes is really just the period that we expect you to arrive on campus to get your keys. Once you have your keys, you can kind of move in at your leisure. We have those appointments set up so that we don't get too backed up. If you are an early arriving student or you need to come outside of our standard move-in times, we would encourage you to reach out to us. We know some students will have special requirements or, can only get plane tickets on certain days or can only, parents can only get off work at certain times. So if you have any questions about that specifically, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to accommodate you.
Awesome, thank you. And then we have another question about when can students get their books or when do they? So I don't know if either Kayleen or Danica, you want to talk about getting your books or when you got your book assignments from your professors or kind of your experience with that.
Yeah, so I can kind of answer that. What I did was I ordered my books online beforehand, and you can go to the UCCS bookstore website. And if you follow some of the links and you can put in what classes you're taking, and a lot of the professors will already have their required books in there. So the bookstore will tell you what you need and then give you an option to order it. Sometimes professors though are a little late to the game and they do not have their books in there right away. If you do like have a question about that or you're a little worried about it, you're more than welcome to email anybody like regarding that class or maybe even the head of the department. Don't be intimidated. They're super nice and they would love to answer any questions that you have. I know I had some issues figuring out my biology book. And if they don't have that up already and class starts, it's probably because the book is not required and you don't need it. So don't stress about it. Also, if you want to look for cheaper options, you can maybe look on eBay. Just make sure you have the right editions. That's super important because professors, some of them can be super picky about which books they have. But for me personally, I hardly used my books. And they were the most useful one I had was my math textbook. And that one was because we did problems out of it. My biology textbook, I ended up not needing it. It was okay. I got fine. I went through fine without it. And then after you order those textbooks, you can pick them up at the bookstore that first week of school. If you are a commuter, you can get in. I think most professors give you like a week, maybe 2 weeks leeway time to get those textbooks figured out. Or if you're moving onto campus like I did, you have that week where you're not really doing much other than attending events. That's a perfect time to go pick up those textbooks. And then they also have a lot of those other supplies there at the bookstore as well. And you'll also see those required items. Also on the bookstore website, they'll tell you everything that you need.
Awesome. Thanks, Kayleen. So I'm actually going to pass this back over to housing again, if Angela or Laura want to jump on. But we did have a good question about how does a student find their mailing address? Where can they get things delivered to? How does that all work?
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let Laura answer this question as our mail services person.
Yeah, so your mailing addresses are only dependent on your village. So if you're in Village of Alpine Valley, it is our 4675 Clyde Way address. And then Summit Village is our 1010 address, Austin Bluffs. They can both be found online. And then we will be sending that information in August with your move-in kind of day packet, if you will, with all things about how to mail yourself something. For PO boxes, it's recommended that you do not put a PO box number, even though you will be giving us a PO box to check your mail and get letters and stuff from family. We'll sort that. But that way, in case you ever move rooms or things like that, your family doesn't have to keep up with what your new PO box is. And then as far as sending yourself packages in advance of move-in, we really ask that you don't start sending yourself something until August. We don't have an unlimited space for packages. So if you can wait until August to start sending yourself something, we would appreciate it. And then be mindful of how much you're sending. We do get about 500 packages per day that first week of classes. So if you don't have to mail it to yourself, we would kindly ask that you don't, just so that way we're not totally
Inundated
with packages. Yes. But yes, and then our zip code is 80918. Perfect. I think I got all of that.
Yeah, I bet a lot of those are like the blue and white Amazon packages too. I'm assuming you guys get a lot of those.
Yes, lots
yes.
of Amazon.
We actually have contests secretly among our residents to see who gets the most packages.
That's amazing. Cool. Kayleen, I'm going to ask you a question. So I'm not sure how involved your family was with your move-in, but can you kind of talk about like kind of how long they spent there? What did they actually do with you? When did you kind of say goodbye to them?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So I moved in, I did the early move in just because it was easiest for me and my family. So what we did was I went to, I'm trying to think, I went to the front desk in Alpine. This is a year ago. I'm trying hard to remember, but me and my family, we just kind of drove around looking for the front desk. When I finally found it, it's in La Plata, by the way. I just told them I was doing an early move in and I wanted to get my key. I picked up my key and then I went over to my building and we met my family over there. We brought 2 vehicles, mine and my family's, and my heavy lifting dad was there and he picked up most of the heavy stuff, and then me, my little brothers, and my mom just carried up the other stuff all the way through there. And what's it called, we used the elevator. Thankfully there was an elevator in my building and we were able to park right outside my building, but they do have carts available if you do need a cart. I know my one of my best friends, they used a cart and they lived over in Summit. So what they did was they checked out a cart and then they took everything out of their car, or everything we could out of the car, and we loaded it into the cart, took it up to the elevator and moved it across over to where she was staying in Summit. And my family stayed the entire move-in. We actually came in, I think it was about 1 o'clock that my move-in was, and they didn't end up leaving until later that night around 7, after we got everything moved in and my mom helped me rearrange and decorate and do things that I wouldn't think to do in a home, because this is my first home by myself. We went out to go get something to eat and it was a lot of fun, a lot of memories. It was kind of bittersweet, but it was a good day, really. They made it really smooth and it was nice.
Great, thanks, Kayleen. So I know that we do want to respect your time because we did start a little bit late. So we're probably going to do one last question. I'll go back to the contact page. So again, if you all have any questions that you thought about after this presentation, feel free to reach out to any of us. You can reach out to housing, you can reach out to, our admissions office. We can always put you in touch with whoever you need to be in touch with. But kind of final question for Kayleen and Danica both. We just have some people who are concerned about making friends. So you guys have talked a lot about, getting involved with the commuter sessions, getting involved with going to the club fair and doing all those things. But can you just kind of talk about, when you're coming from a different city and don't know people in Colorado Springs, or for those of you who came in Colorado Springs, like how did you meet other people?
Yeah, I know for me, I wanted to get a job on campus because I figured that was going to be the easiest way, because it's like almost you have to automatically make friends with the people you work with. So I got a job in the dining halls and catering. So if you are moving from another city and you are looking for a job, an on-campus job is 100% like the way to go, and like the greatest work in built-in way to make friends. So that's like my little tidbit.
Yeah, work was a really good way for me to make friends. That's where actually a lot of my closest friends are from. So definitely an on-campus job, I recommend that. The admissions office is a good place to go if you're a little outgoing. And something I also did was I got really close with my roommates. My roommates I still talk to them now. They're some of the closest friends I had on campus. I guess when you stay with somebody every single day, that tends to happen. And the closest or the easiest way we did to get close was, one, go to all the class kickoff events together. And we had dinner together every day. I know that doesn't fit into everybody's schedule, but we would wait until 7 o'clock at night, because that's when my last class ended, and we'd all go eat together until the dining hall kicked us out by turning off the lights. So that was my best way of making friends, and they are still my best friends today. And really just going to those events, and we branched out, met some different people through those, but of course I know everybody's going to be busy at school, so find the people that are close to you and try to make those work.
Well,
I would
you.
also, sorry, Alice, I would also recommend if you are living on campus and your RA is inviting your floor to go to anything, even if no one else on your floor is going, I would still go because there were so many times that just me and my roommate went to different events and no one else on the floor went. But it was a way to meet other people from other buildings because all of the RAs are like friends with each other. So I would recommend going wherever your RA tells you to go because you're probably going to run into other people there too.
Thank you, guys. All right, so it looks like there's a couple more questions in the Q&A that I think housing is answering right now. But otherwise, thank you all again for joining us today. Sorry for the technical difficulties that we had, but we're so glad that you all got to join us. We are going to post this to our YouTube channel. So that'll be, if you just go to YouTube and type in UCCS admissions, this will be posted there. At least by the end of the week. So just make sure to kind of keep an eye out in the next couple days. We did not start till 4:20. So if any of you came in late, you probably didn't miss too much, but thank you all again for coming. Again, if you've got any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. But thank you all. And we are so excited to see you on campus in, oh my gosh, just about 5 weeks now. So thank you all and have a great rest of your evening.